Welcome to Vertical with Vidir, a podcast exploring the latest in vertical storage solutions.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Vertical with Vidir, a Vidir podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B. And folks, thanks so much for listening to another episode of the show. We appreciate you listening along. As you're listening to our conversation, make sure that you're heading to our website, storevertical.com. Again, storevertical.com for more information on our solutions and services, as well as other pieces of Vidir content. You can also find this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We encourage you to subscribe there, and then you'll have a full catalog of previous conversations as well as notifications when we drop new ones. So on today's episode of the podcast, we're getting a look at Vidir's VLM solution and how it intersects with today's material handling needs. Across industries, people need to conserve space, people need security and safety, and of course, they need efficiency in their day-to-day operations. And this has only been accentuated by COVID, which, after crushing demand, has now put work floors in a tough situation. How do we ramp back up production and fulfillment efficiently, and in some cases with increased demand as well? So here to explain the value of a vertical lift machine for today's material handling needs, I'm pleased to welcome our two guests, Robin Chestnut and Ryan O'Donnell, both part of Vidir's sales team. Robin, Ryan, great to have you both on. How are y'all doing?
Doing great, thanks.
Great, Daniel.
Pleasure getting to chat with both of you. I'm looking forward to pulling from your insights and getting to learn a little bit more about Vidir's VLM and how it intersects with today's needs. I want to start by actually getting to know both of your perspectives and experiences in the material handling industries just a little better. That way our audience understands what you're bringing to the conversation. So we'll start with Robin here. How did you land at working with these solutions? And since you've been working in the material handling industries, what has been the biggest takeaway you've learned about said industries that you now serve?
Well, I have a sales background, and that's how I came to work at Vidir. Vidir, I live in the one of the towns that Vidir has a plant in, and so it's just down the road. And I've always admired Vidir just as a manufacturer. It's sort of one of the bases of the economy. That, along with farming, you're producing something new out of raw goods, and that's where the real value comes from. So I've always been admiring them from afar. So I'm really proud to be able to be part of the team and part of it now. So, as part of the sales staff, it's really about finding solutions for the client, and it's great to be part of a company who is dedicated to just that. So you can feel really good about what you're doing and find solutions for people.
And now, same question to you, Ryan. How did you land at working in the material handling industries, and what have been some takeaways that you've learned since serving their needs?
Yeah, so my father, Jerry O'Donnell, has been in the industry for over 20 years. When I was in college, I started doing installations for Vidir over the summers, sort of like a summer job. Got my hands on a lot of the machineries, doing installations across the country. Got really comfortable with the product. And then after graduating college, Vidir approached me to take a sales position, and we started at inside sales and slowly took over at territory, and have been here now for 6 years in sales. So started sort of from the ground up with installation, worked myself into sales, and have been that ever since.
Perfect. Thanks for that perspective, y'all. Let's get deeper into the conversation now. Moving forward, feel free to both of you answer any and all questions here. So I want to start here. As a sales team, when we're working with an end user, what's your approach to helping said business find the right solution to meet their needs? What is, what are the main factors that you have them walk through? And how do you personally try to ascertain what do these people need? How do we serve them best?
When a lead comes to us, or if we go to them, what we want to do is start with what they're doing now, and really dial in on defining the problem that they're having. Most companies are searching us out because they're out of space. They've committed to their particular location. They had plenty of space when they first got there, but they keep getting new assets in to help build their products, and soon their facility is full. And so you can ask facetiously, have you expanded into your parking lot? And they say, look, we can't do that. Vidir's in a lucky position where one of our main plants was part of the family farmland. And so the place just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we kept expanding. And we do use, all of our products in our production facility as well. But a lot of people don't have that luxury. And if they're going to move their facility, they might have to move, 100 miles or 100 kilometers away. And moving, a staff of 30 or a staff of 200 to a different town is impossible. So they need to make the best use of their space. And often that means using, very often unused vertical space. And of course, lifting heavy things with forklifts or climbing up ladders or doing things like that is not super safe. But, wouldn't it be great if you could hit a button and your products, your tooling, your consumables, what have you, just comes right down to you while you stand, on the floor. And so it's a safe way to use space. And that's really what most of the clients are looking for is, how do we maximize the use of our cubic foot space?
The most important part of us providing a full solution or a perfect solution for a customer is understanding, like Robin said, the limitations, where they're getting bottlenecked at, whether it's space, production, and just really understanding that customer. If we can put ourselves in their shoes and understand their business and that particular customer, that goes a long way into us suggesting whether it's a carousel, vertical lift module, whatever it may be. It really helps us provide them with the perfect solution for their exact facility.
And I'm curious, each of y'all's individual approach to this here, but when you're doing sales work, it's not just, pitching the product, obviously, and, identifying, okay, which solution is going to be best for you, but it's also a lot of soft people skills. It's, truly an empathetic kind of mentality and also a solutions-driven mentality. So as you're working with the folks in today's material handling industries, how do you balance both of those things personally, and how have you found that helps you better understand what their most pressing needs are today?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with putting yourself in their shoes. I'm sure Robin can attest to the number one thing I like to think about when a customer contacts me is, where are they getting stuck? Where's their bottleneck here? And maybe it's three places. Maybe it's safety. Maybe it's accessing the product, ease of accessing the product, so they're having an efficiency issue, and maybe it's the footprint as well. So we'd like to take that, put them in order from most important to least important, and put ourselves in their shoes and providing what a perfect solution we would provide them. It may be that they don't have the budget for the absolute perfect situation, for the perfect solution, and in that case, we'd work ourselves backwards and give them another option. But I think putting ourselves in their shoes is the key to giving them that solution.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd have to agree with that. They often come to us with one need, say, we're out of space and we want to go vertical. But then as we talk to them, we realize, you have some big, heavy, expensive stuff, and it's getting damaged with the way that they're currently doing it, and it's too time consuming. So now, if we can increase retrieval time and reduce any damage to their goods and maybe it's a throughput question, maybe it's just a bottleneck in time, and they really need to reduce that as well. So it sometimes takes a little bit of uncovering, but if they come to us looking for one benefit, they often get 4 or 5. And having that conversation and figuring out where they're at, and not just what their basic product specifications are, and what their ceiling height might be. Both are key questions as to figuring out what capacity our machines are going to be able to deliver them, but also giving them those other factors like retrieval times and being able to have part security on their inventory and that type of thing.
On our last episode of the podcast, we learned all about Vidir's mission statement as a company and its development of technologies over the years. So we don't need to get too specific into this, but I am curious from both of your perspectives, How have you seen Vidir innovate and modify its material handling solutions over the years to match these shifts in the industry? And if you need to, go ahead and lay out what those shifts in the industry have been and then how Vidir has responded.
The shift is there's absolutely a shift towards automation, as that's just where the world is moving in material handling. In just about every single market out there is trying to get more automated. And as I see that happening, we've made great strides at Vidir in moving towards that way. We've redesigned our software. Our inventory control software is top notch. The integration process is getting better and better, even down to the hardware we put on with the touchscreen computers onto the front of these machines. Vidir as a whole is always making changes to units to better them for industries, even breaking into new markets. When I first got to Vidir 6 years ago, a vertical lift system for sheet metal and bar stock, that was a brand new concept to us. We just started building one, and we actually had built that unit for ourselves because we saw a need for it in our production facility. So we built ourselves one, designed one, and started manufacturing them and marketing them to other companies. So that's been a very successful product line with Vidir. We've done a ton of work on our pan carousel. Our standard pan carousel throughout the last 5 years has completely changed. We've added safeties to it. We've added emergency drill drive systems to it. Like I said, we've added the upgraded inventory control software to it. So I think Vidir does a really, really good job, and what makes us stand out is our ability to adapt to the market changes and where that's heading.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our products come from, a genuine need in the marketplace, and maybe it's one customer bringing us, the opportunity to look at that and say, hey, can you solve this problem for me? And oftentimes we realize, well, if we solve this problem for this gentleman or this company, this person, then, there's a lineup of other people looking for the exact same thing, whether they realize they need it or not. They don't always right off the bat, but once it's on our website and they find it, they go, yeah, that's just what I need. Or they'll see something on our website and say, I don't know if my product fits that exactly, but, with a few modifications, maybe it would. And so they call us up and yeah, you're right, we need to do some customization, but if we make our frames just a little bit, bigger or wider or increase the motor size, then certainly we can provide a tailored solution for each customer. And sometimes it creates a window into a whole new industry. For instance, the printing, packaging, converting industry, uses cylinders that they need to hang from our mandrels, whereas our carpet carousels, the roll of the carpet goes right on, the mandrel goes through that roll. So it's a very similar looking machine, but it operates differently for a different product. And as clients come to us with accessories and options, we go, oh yeah, that would be an easy add too. And so we have a fantastic engineering team. I think at least 10% of our staff is in product development. So we really are poised to tackle solutions for people.
I want to ground the conversation around something timely as well. Companies are finding their feet again after the initial slowdown from the worldwide pandemic. We're almost a year out from the first wave of shutdowns here in the U.S., and company growth is starting up again. We're seeing expansion plans are being eyed, production floors and companies are returning to full staff, full speed as well, demand increasing. But with all of this, we're seeing many material handling challenges as industries are dealing with this return to high demand and, what they might call quote unquote normal, but obviously normal looks different today. So with all that in mind, what are some of these material handling challenges you're seeing today as we pick back up production since COVID? And why are these the challenges that we're seeing?
I think it's been a trend for a while now, and maybe it's being amplified with COVID. But like I say, people need to make the most of their facilities. They're looking for efficiencies everywhere they can, whether they're using a Kanban parts system to manage their inventory, or whether they're adopting lean manufacturing principles. But they need more space, whether it's for their consumables, for receivables, maybe it's for buffer storage during their manufacturing process. Maybe they need extra storage for their tooling as they expand their production line. And they're looking at all those efficiencies in their workflow. They're trying to alleviate bottlenecks like we have in producing our VLS. Increasing throughput is always is the bottom line. And so if we can help them with their parts orders and tying in with their ERP system or their WMS, warehouse management software, and tie that all in, it's all leading towards Industry 4.0, and that's been a trend for some time now, and it's only increasing in that direction as we move forward.
Yeah, I think we've seen COVID affect just about every single industry we work in. I mean, we're in industries all over the map. We work with hospitals for bed lift storage. We work in a ton of manufacturing facilities, and they've been dealing with shutdowns and new capacity limits to how many employees they can have in their facility. So a vertical lift module or a vertical lift system for sheet metal, they might be able to get away with only having 10 employees in that section of their facility, whereas before it took 15. So that really helps them stay lean, as Robin mentioned, lean manufacturing there. It's even affected the way retail is and how customers shop for product. We recently did a job for Sam's Club, and we're on a rollout program with them where we're doing a BOPIS carousel where the customer will go ahead and order all of their products that they're looking to buy at their local Sam's Club through an app. The employee inside the store will pick that product, put it on our carousel, and when the customer shows up at that store, all the employee does is scan the customer's phone. The carousel automatically rotates the product that they ordered, shows up on the carrier. The employee picks it up and takes it out to the consumer. So when I was in that Sam's Club location, the numbers were up over 1,000% for customers using that app. So COVID's definitely changed a few of these industries that we work in, and it's just learning how to deal with it now, and hopefully using our products to help them deal with it.
Absolutely. As people get busier and busier, they want to spend less time shopping or less time walking around in the store, and so we are actively developing multiple BOPIS products, and that might be a topic for a whole new podcast.
Noted. I'll jot that one down for the follow-up. You committed yourselves to another podcast. I love it. All right, let's continue. So to loop Vidir in more specifically, you bring vertical lift machines to a variety of different industries, everything from aerospace to small electronic manufacturing, defense contractors, auto dealerships, woodworking, fulfillment, et cetera, et cetera. Can you explain how needs that we just broke down, these challenges that material handlers are having, have differed from industry to industry? Are there any unique situations that pop up in a manufacturing material handling situation versus a fulfillment one, or defense versus a woodworking one? Go ahead and break that down for us and what some of those unique issues are per industry.
The needs are almost always the same. Our machines always provide. They always reduce the footprint. They always make the product more accessible and in a timely manner, in a safe manner. I think the key industry to industry is which part of that they're going to focus the most on. Whether you're selling to a company like Eaton that has thousands of parts, little tiny small electronic parts on a vertical lift module. Well, those guys are going to be a little bit more focused on the inventory control of the unit. They've got 10,000 pieces on the vertical lift module. They need to know where every single piece is and need to get it down in seconds. So those guys might not be as focused on the footprint reduction, which our machine also offers them, but more so on the inventory side of it. And then you have a customer in a manufacturing facility who is storing say tooling, right? The tooling, there's maybe only 15 of them on a carousel, and they're not so concerned about which ones are on that carousel. They know their 15 tools are on that carousel, but for them, it's an accessibility issue. They're having a hard time accessing that. What would normally take a forklift to bring the product down now can be done with the machine. So I think most of our machines provide the same basic features. It's just industry to industry. Those companies might focus and be drawn to one of those certain features, whether it's the inventory control, accessibility, safety, all of the above.
Yeah, another spot where you see it in manufacturing is if you imagine a manufacturing facility, they have all sorts of different, automated tooling that, they need to keep spare parts and maintenance parts, on hand. They can't be ordering from across the ocean, waiting to get their machine up and running again. So they're just maintenance facilities are saying, okay, where are we going to put all these parts just for maintenance and upkeep of the facility? And you go, well, let's store them vertically, and then you have them all right there, and you never miss a day because a machine is down.
Now, I want to get y'all's thoughts on how you see Vidir's vertical lift machine being ready to handle these material handling needs in various industries. So let's start with specific features and technologies of your vertical lift machine. What does it have that makes it a unique solution, that makes it flexible to various material handling needs? What are some of those features and technologies that are part of the solution?
Sure. There's a number of things. We've expanded our carousel offering across the board, and so now we're coming with our VLM, and we looked around and said, what would be the ideal thing, and we want that to be part of our VLM. So we have hardened steel chains, for instance, that are going to last, and they're going to stand up to thousands and thousands of lifts. And that's what we want, is somebody that has a machine that lasts for 30 years and doesn't have to, replace things after 10. But that combined with our servo motors, now you're getting super accurate delivery of your tray and retrieval of your tray, over and over and over again. So you're getting accurate delivery and less downtime because of that. That said, with the servo motors, the lift is operating at load and at top speed, whereas with a regular AC motor, its rated speed is the tray running empty, is my understanding. So, but that's not a real world application. Real world means there's 1,000 pounds on that tray, and they still want their items just as fast as was promised.
Yeah, I mean there's a ton of features on this vertical lift module that we've really thought through, and I mean all the way through trial, through testing, just through seeing what the competitors are doing in the market and trying to get a leg up on them and offer something different, unique, and all around better for the marketplace. I think the servo motors, as Robin stated, are a huge leg up. They're faster, they run faster, whether the carrier is fully loaded or it's empty, you're going to get the same speed. They're extremely accurate, so that gives us a huge leg up on the competitors. Also, our inventory control and our software that we're developing is next to none. And we also have things with Vidir, working with Vidir, that aren't just designed in the machine that you can also expect from us. We have a very fast lead time on these VLMs. We have service techs across the country. We have carousels in every single Lowe's, Home Depot, and Walmart in North America. So we have an extensive network of service techs out there ready to service a unit. If you have a unit go down, you're not waiting days for a tech to come in while your material's stuck inside the lift itself. We can be out there right away. So that, as far as installation goes, we have our installation on these down to 3 days, so we're in and out of your building quickly. We use Schneider electrical components that can be easily sourced, so you're not waiting for an electrical component to fix a VLM to come out of Italy Italy or Germany, or it's right here. It's most likely right down the street in your electrical store. So I think those things, not only just the design of our unit itself, but also our service capabilities, our short lead times, and our installation team also really make Vidir stand out in the vertical lift market.
And to add to that, Vidir's really known for building a robust product that's going to last a long time. And we've done that same thing with the VLM. We're ready for 95% of seismic zones, and we can easily reach the other 5% as well if required. So we don't want to overbuild our machine for everything, but it typically is overbuilt. So that means it's ready for pretty much any geographic location. The other thing that Ryan mentioned is we are really a service-based company. We want your machine to work right off the bat. We're not. We have a 2-year warranty, but what we've also added to the VLM is remote diagnostic capability. So if you're having a problem with your machine, it's throwing up an error code, our service techs can log in, run a diagnosis on it, and say, you're having a problem here. Now the problem's half solved. Well, we're sending a technician out to your physical location, or perhaps we can solve it and diagnose and solve it, from here, and you're not losing any work time.
That's a great point.
Now, do meeting these challenges head on with something like a vertical lift machine create any domino effects for other aspects of these companies' businesses? I know you already laid some of those out, but I'm curious on the financial side as well. How does this pad the bottom line? How does this impact day-to-day OpEx? What are your thoughts there?
Absolutely. If a company not only can save space, but they can also reduce their pick time at the same time, or increase their parts security. I know one company that I'm working with. They are adapting more and more carousels and VLMs to their facility because they want to know which part is going to which project. They have a great staff and so forth, but it's so easy to go up to a shelf and say, well, I'm building this up for this project, and I'm building this up for this other project, so I'll just take what I need and off I go. And now those parts are no longer tied into their system as to what project they went to necessarily, and now that's causing problems for purchasing because they don't know what the inventory levels are. But if you're using a VLM to access your parts and you need them for a specific project, that's all tied into the software, and now it's making for a more predictable environment as far as what you need to order and what your inventory control levels are or inventory levels are. So, like I say, when we solve one problem, they're often getting 5 or 6 other benefits.
Yeah, there's absolutely a domino effect. Vidir, in some ways, have changed some of the industry. If you look inside of a Home Depot or Lowe's, a carousel has changed the way some of the biggest manufacturers in the world retail carpet. If you look inside of a hospital, we have hospital bed lifts, thousands of hospital bed lift units across the country, and that came to us as a custom idea of a way to store hospital beds. And now you look at thousands of units sold later, it's really changed that industry and how hospitals as a whole store beds. So the domino effect is definitely in place. Some of these units have the capabilities of becoming industry standard throughout their industry.
As sales professionals, when you look at the rest of the vertical lift machine market, why does this Vidir product stand out to you? What is it about the actual technologies, about any of the tangential, working with Vidir reasons that you have come to appreciate working on the sales team?
I came across this at trade shows and just learning about some of our competitors and so forth. Mm-hmm. Often some of these machines are made over in Europe, and you look at some of them and you go, wow, the design looks pretty fancy, like a fancy sneaker or something. Well, it looks like there's all these features and so forth that could go down, but what Vidir and what we've done in North America perhaps is made things so they're robust and heavy, and they last. We're making a product like, well, maybe I shouldn't draw analogies, but the fridge you bought in the 50s, it's still working 50 years later. Oh, it wasn't that efficient, but now we can make things efficient and make them last. And I think that's what we're known for in the industry is making a big, robust, product that's going to just keep working every day. And I think that's what I really, appreciate about Vidir's lineup.
I agree with you 100%, Robin. I think furthermore than just the design changes that we've outlined already, it's a big part of our service, and there's also a huge part of Vidir a huge factor with dealing with Vidir that we will look at custom operations too. So if you have a product in there that they say, look, there's not a machine on the market that can store it, well, we'll gladly look at that for you. We have 15 different product lines. So we have anything from vertical lifts for sheet metal, VLMs, bed lifts, carousels. If you have a product, we can store it for you. Whether that's on a VLM or on a carousel, we can figure it out and we will provide you the perfect solution. So I would say probably about 40% of the jobs I work on are custom in some sort of way. And I think that's what makes us stand out the most from our competitors. A lot of times other companies aren't really looking to get into custom work, one-off machines that they won't build ever again. And that's what sets us apart. We really are looking to provide you with the absolute perfect solution. If that means we're going to build a custom solution for you, then that's what that means, and we get it out the door.
Last thing I want to bring up with these sets of questions is basically response that you've seen. How are customers across the industry now responding to Vidir's vertical lift machine for their needs today? Are you hearing that it's meeting most of what they need? Have they expressed any desires for what they want next from Vidir as the needs in the industry shift?
Absolutely. We're not only are we meeting their needs, but they're uncovering additional needs. And so the product line is just going to keep on developing as clients ask us for additional things that maybe we haven't thought of and maybe that nobody else has thought of yet. But like I say, we take those requests and they all feed in to our engineers, and we get them prioritized. And if the demand is there right now, then we want to solve that problem for the customer, because we know the next customer down the line is going to need it as well. So
I look at the VLM just to compare it to, like, a customer will look at it like a heated seat option for their car. Well, they didn't ever think they needed heated seats for their car until they owned a car with heated seats, and then they can't imagine not having that. I think the VLM's sort of like that as well. Customers don't realize how much more efficient and how much quicker they can get product down, how much they can really reduce that footprint until they actually have one in their facility and are operating with it. Moving forward, they realize, wow, this is something we absolutely need. With the turnover in the job market these days, I get customers all the time that have purchased a lift or a carousel from us at one company, have moved on to start working for another company, and the absolute first call they make when they start at that second company is to us for a carousel or a VLM, because they can't imagine manufacturing the way they were without that product in there. So I think we're going above and beyond customer needs, and once they get it and really get their hands on it, I think the products really speak for themselves.
Absolutely. When a client sees and really understands that the VLM is automatically making the best use of their space, they go, yeah, that I see how it's really going to, shrink my store area into a very small footprint. Every product or every item, the height is measured by photo sensors as it's being stored. So the VLM is taking those dimensions and remembering them. And the very next tray that goes up into storage is going just about an inch above that previous item height. And so now you can imagine all of your items are stacked basically about an inch apart all the way up. Whereas if you put it on, say static racking, if you put a 4-inch item in a 12-inch space, you've just lost 8 inches of space. where that 8 inches is now being used by a VLM. And that's really done for the customer automatically. All they have to do now is say, know which part they want, and the VLM knows where it is and brings it back for them. So it's simple to use and simple to make the best use of their space. So it really solves a lot of problems. And once customers see that, once they understand that, they say, "Yep, that's worth putting into my facility." It's definitely investment that's going to pay them back many times over the years.
All right, Rob and Ryan, we're almost done with our conversation today. I want to turn to Vidir's customer service approach here to wrap up the conversation, because we mentioned it a lot in our last conversation, but I really want to ground it with how you and your teams approach delivering a one-of-a-kind solution for your end users. So do you have any stories of a company with a material handling nightmare or challenge that you were able to help? And what was the overall impact of Vidir's not only sales approach, but then just broader integration and service approach? And how has that now set up the company for success? Any stories there really highlighting something crazy?
Yeah, absolutely, Daniel. I have two that come right to the top of my mind. One was with a company called Champion Windows in California, and they came to us with extremely large bundles of bar stock. Typically, our bar stock lifts have a 24-inch deep carrier. They were over 4 feet in depth, and they were 20 feet long. So we're talking about a really big pallet of bar stock that they were currently moving in and out of the building into their saws with forklifts. And they're saying it's just a matter of time until we have an accident and someone ends up getting killed over these. We need to keep this product on the ground. We don't want to lift it in the air with a forklift anymore. But at the same time, this product has to make its way to 6 different saws in our facility. What can you do? And it took us months back and forth with engineering, back to the customer, site visits, understanding their throughput and how this facility really operated from the time the product was dropped off on the truck till the time the finished window or door went out of the door. So we provided them with a few custom vertical lifts at really large dimensions that nobody in our industry was willing to touch. Our customer has said he'd gone everywhere, overseas, everywhere, looking for somebody to take on the challenge, and nobody would. We took on the challenge and we succeeded greatly with it. It's a good customer, and the product was something I was really proud of. Being in that facility with those units was something to be proud of, both for myself and for the company. So that was a success story where we really took a unique situation and a custom problem and turned it into a new design for us in a new unit. The other one that's right on top of my head was a recent project. The Miami Dolphins contacted us for their football team, and they were having trouble with their trunk storage. So when they would get ready for an away football game, they would put all the helmets and pads in these rolling trunks. Well, these rolling trunks were ground level and were filling up their equipment room, and they had nowhere to go with it. So we actually took our bed lift design, changed the specs a little bit so that they could wheel these trunks of football equipment into the bed lift, which is now a trunk lift, so they could put 3 deep and go up 5 different levels high. So all of a sudden, when we would take a room, and before and after pictures are amazing, of just trunks all over ground level, we could take them, condense them into 4 units where they're stacked up and all their equipment's in there. That particular job, we painted their colors. It blended in perfectly in their facility, and it was a huge success. That has led us to quoting NFL teams and other Major League sports teams all across the country on equipment storage lifts now. So with that custom solution, as we talked earlier about that domino effect, that has started a domino effect. Most of these equipment guys work together. They go to conferences together, and now the Dolphins are proudly showing off how they took a huge issue, got a custom solution from us, and are now showing it off to other teams, and we're quoting other teams on the same exact product. So those are 2 success stories that we took a unique issue, made a custom product, and really had great results with them.
Absolutely. I mentioned the printing and converting. We have a couple of solutions for that industry. For print cylinders that are very heavy, they're often 500 to 1,000 pounds or more, and then there's sleeves that go on top of them. And so as we get to know those clients, we find that they have, multiple dimensions, could be varying in widths, could be varying in diameters. And when we can track down just the right solution to match all of their equipment, so that they can, touch a button, bring down whatever cylinder they need for it to work with that day, and put it back safely, and reduce that retrieval time from, say, 15 minutes, to get it, and 15 minutes to put away safely. And now we can get that back, down to 5 minutes. It's a real big win for the customer. And you see clients saying, okay, we're moving facilities. Can you move this old one, and can you give us a new one now? And so it's really great when you can find just that right solution for the customer. But then you realize, like I say, there's 10, 15, 20, 100 customers lined up after that. We're going to need that same or similar solution.
All right, Robin, Ryan, I think that does it for our conversation today on Vidir's VLM solutions and how they are meeting today's material handling needs. So I appreciate both of you joining us, giving us your insights today. Again, we've been chatting with Robin Chestnut and Ryan O'Donnell, both part of Vidir's sales team. Thanks again for your time. And Robin, Ryan, if folks want to find out more about Vidir's VLM solutions, get in touch, how can they do so?
The best way is to go to storevertical.com. There's a link there. We try to get back to you within 24 hours, and we'll reach out and we'll converse about just your exact needs. But storevertical.com is the quickest way to do it.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Robin Chestnut, Ryan O'Donnell, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks a bunch.
And thank you everyone for listening to today's episode of Vertical with Vidir, a Vidir podcast. If you like what you heard and want to listen to previous episodes, make sure that you're heading to our website, storevertical.com, and subscribing to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm your host, Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B. Till next time.